Hello students, welcome to Module 1. I'm so excited to be your instructor for Advanced Instructional Design. I love to teach and learn things connected with technology and with instructional design. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If I do not know the answer, I will try to find out the answer as soon as possible. Establishing learning outcomes is an essential part of instructional design because it allows the learners to be aware of what they are expected to do. That being said, I want to take a minute to discuss the learning outcomes for this course. Upon successful completion of this course, students will be able to complete a needs assessment to identify gaps to be addressed by an e-learning plan, develop instructional materials to address learning needs, complete an implementation plan for instruction. I encourage you to review the Faculty Expectations segment. It is located under Meet Your Instructor. This section includes my contact information and discusses the support I will provide you during this course. It also discusses specific information that I have for you concerning assignment expectations, professionalism, and late assignments. Your discussion board responses count about half of your grade in this course. I encourage you to analyze the discussion board rubric. A link to it can be found on the discussion board assignment section. All assignments are analyzed for criteria under critical thinking, subject knowledge, participation, coherence or organization, and mechanics. Critical thinking, knowledge, and participation count more than organization and mechanics. Your grade will be reduced under organization if you complete this assignment in question-answer form. If you have not reviewed the video presentation, Do You Want to Be Distinguished?, I encourage you to either review it or review the PowerPoint version of it. It is in your best interest to understand what each element of the rubric means. Specific examples are provided to allow you to see a variety of posts. It is very important that learning outcomes, assignments, and assessments are all aligned. In the text, Assessing Learners Online, the authors state a learning outcome can be measured only if it can be observed. To create an observable event, a learner must exhibit a behavior. Let's take a few minutes to make those direct correlations. The first learning outcome is critically examine a learning or instructional theorist. This directly correlates to the discussion board assignment where you will research and describe an instructional or learning theorist. You will also have to choose a technology that you feel this theorist would consider most valuable to learning today. You must justify this answer. It is not just your opinion. The second learning outcome is analyze the use of specific drill software for a given topic. This directly correlates with the second discussion board assignment, where you will locate, discuss, and evaluate a website which features drill or repetition-based software. The third learning outcome is describe approaches to creating instructional design solutions. In the journal assignment, you will describe specific learning experiences and approaches that you have found helpful. The final learning outcome is demonstrate understanding of the need for well-defined goals and objectives for instruction. The final assignment requires you to analyze the software's intended goals and provide an explanation of how specific software meets those goals and objectives. The visual reminders that you see here represent the required resources for this assignment. Links to the required resources can be found in the student guide and on the reference section of this guidance. Recommended resources for this chapter include YouTube, TeacherTube, Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress. The first assignment for this week is to introduce yourself and to respond to at least 3 of your classmates. The directions state that you are to tell who you are and where you live, your goals for this course and your degree program, your career goals, your hobbies, and how those who know you best would describe you. You have two options in this assignment. Option 1 is to create a YouTube or TeacherTube video. If you choose option 1, you will post a link to your video on the discussion board. Option 2 is to make a presentation. If you choose this option, you will present your presentation to the discussion thread. You will attach your presentation to the discussion thread. According to Osterhoff and Eli, an ice-breaking activity is crucial for setting the stage for community development because it allows students to get to know each other on a personal basis and begins the trust-building process with fellow students. This activity also provides the instructor with specific insight about each student. Learning and instructional theorist. You are to select a famous learning or instructional theorist. A list of different theorists is provided for you in the assignment area. In addition to choosing a theorist, you should provide an introduction and select a specific learning tool that you feel this theorist would choose based on his or her philosophy. Explain or justify why you feel this theorist would choose this. Specific examples are posted below. Respond to two classmates substantively. You will find links to the additional resources in the reference section of the guidance. In the second discussion board assignment, you will choose drill software and justify why you feel this software is good drill software. Please make sure you include all of the information on the slide above. Introduce the software, justify why you chose this software. Notice that the next part says these are the minimum requirements. Name of the software, overview of the software, a link to the software, pricing information, your evaluation of the software. Does it work? Would you recommend it? You are also supposed to make 2 responses to your classmates. Make sure when choosing your drill software that you do not choose something that your classmates or I will have to sign up to be able to see. The Dropbox assignment has 2 parts. In part 1, you will answer the questions about the drill software application you chose in the discussion board assignment. In part 2, you will prepare a blog, presentation, or video about instructional design. You are supposed to provide a separate reference page that is formatted in APA format and submit this with your presentation. Please note, the directions do not say whether part 1 should be a paper or part of your presentation, blog, or video. Please note that the length requirements of the assignment are for part 2 of this assignment. There are no length requirements for part 1 of the assignment. You may find it easier to answer the questions in part 1 in a paper, but this is not required. Part 1 should answer the questions on the following slides. In part 1, you should answer the specific questions that are listed on the direction page under A through I. I want to review the rubric. The first point is identifies the name of the software and the link and summarizes the software. There should be no discrepancies between the software and your summary of the software. I encourage you to include many details that support your summary so the reader has a clear overview of the software program. Remember that the reader does not have the same context or frame of reference as you do. The second point on the rubric states, describes the learning goals, the intended audience, and the presumed level of knowledge. You should comprehensively describe the learning goals, the intended audience, and the presumed level of knowledge. I encourage you to provide enough details that the audience has a clear picture of all three elements. Remember that to comprehensively describe does not mean to provide a list. The next section on the rubric asks you to describe the hurdles learners must overcome to achieve learning goals. In this assignment, you need to describe the specific types of hurdles that learners might have to overcome when using this software. You also need to answer the question, what are the learning needs? The final point on the rubric that is directly about the drill software asks you to explain if the software accounts for the gamut of learner styles and knowledge. This requires more information than just a statement of whether the software accounts for the gamut of learner styles and knowledge. There should be specific examples and details so readers who have not viewed the software will understand how this website takes into account different learning styles. The next section on the rubric asks you to review critical thinking and integrative knowledge. Under critical thinking, in order to be scored as distinguished, the rubric states that your conclusions and related outcomes must be logical and clearly reflect your informed evaluation and ability to place evidence and perspectives described in priority order. This means that you should prioritize your assertions to build a compelling argument. This conclusion should either summarize the key points in the paper or relate to the introduction. If you do not have a conclusion, the reader is left hanging and unsure of the writer's intent. The conclusion and related outcomes should reflect your ability to synthesize research and analysis. Under integrative learning, it states, in order to be scored as distinguished, the rubric states you must utilize a format, language, or graph, or other visual representation in ways that enhance comprehension, while making clear the interdependence of language and meaning, thought, and expression. This means that the method of communication of your ideas must be appropriate for the assignment. The method of communication should enhance the understanding of the main points. It must have a central idea or purpose, and it must be presented in a logical sequence and contain adequate transitions so the reader is not confused. Part 2 of this assignment requires you to create a presentation that gives an overview of instructional design. You may create a PowerPoint presentation, a YouTube video, or a blog. The presentation should contain 10 to 15 slides. The YouTube video should be at least 3 minutes long. The blog post should be a minimum of 500 words. Regardless of which presentation method you choose, the content of this assignment should contain a minimum of 3 sources.